Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Great Days Outdoors Magazine, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. We have a great show lined up this week, but first, let's hear who is making the show possible for us. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to us by KillerDock. As anglers, we put a lot of time, money, and passion into fishing, but most of us do not have a fish cleaning station that we are proud of. Many of us are suffering from dock dysfunction. A rod and table with rusty metal, this is just no good. But the dock enhancement that we've all been waiting for is finally here. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. And also brought to us by Flora, Bama Fishing Rodeo. The Flora, Bama Fishing Rodeo. It's an annual fishing tournament held at Flora, Bama Old River Grill. It's coined the Gulf Coast's funnest fishing tournament. This rodeo is fun for all ages. From kids to adults, there are more than 30 categories of fish, additional competitive divisions, low entry fees, and tons of prizes. The fishing rodeo focuses on bringing families together for a fun weekend of fishing on the Gulf Coast. This event is June 11th and 12th of 2021. All right, guys, like I said, we got a great show lined up this week. I'm your host, Butch Theory, and I'm joined this week with Captain Richard Rutland with Cold-Blooded Fishing. How we doing today, Captain Richard?
Butch Daddy, what's shaking Hulse?
Oh, man, living the daddy life. Hashtag dad life, right?
Yep. I know all too well about that, man.
Especially the baby girl life. You got that hemmed up, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Man, I got to tell you this funny little story, man, about my kids. My youngest, Anna Claire, she's 6. Last week, she lost her first tooth. And
goodness.
Oh, my goodness. It was a great, big, huge deal.
Big traumatic experience.
Yeah. And she like just about busted into tears when we pulled it out. Things like barely hanging on, and I kind of helped pull it out. Well, guess what happens again this week? Got another loose tooth, lost 2 teeth in 2 weeks. So the tooth fairies come twice in 1 month in my house.
She going to be rich. She got all the cold-blooded money.
Oh, my goodness gracious, man. She said their kids are so cute, man. But she was just through the roof excited about the tooth fairy.
I bet, man. I bet.
That's what you have to look forward to, being the tooth fairy.
I am looking forward to it too, man.
It's fun.
Well, yeah, we're going to talk some fishing this week. Let's start this thing out strong, man. Let's head on down and see what Captain Bobby Abruscato up to.
Go ahead, Captain Bobby. How are we doing today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. I've, it's been a bit of a struggle for the last week, but we had a fairly successful day, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Kind of nice to see some rods getting bent, but yeah, all good, man. Just get off the water off a day like that and kind of start looking forward to getting back on the water again in the morning.
That's right. Yep. I agree with you. I've been fishing some too this week, a bunch this week actually. And it has been a little bit of a struggle. I can't really put my finger on it. Why? I just always it's March. It's a transition month. Fish are kind of coming out of their winter comatose and trying to go springtime, so they're a little bit what I call in between right now. Is that what you're seeing too?
Transition fishing is the hardest to me. It's summertime, they're where they're at, they're going to stay put. Wintertime, they're where they're at, they're going to stay put. But what we had a week and a half ago or so, coming up on 2 weeks ago, the water warmed up to where we were in the mid 60 degree range, and banner trips. I mean, really incredible trips for that early in what I call the transition period, which was late February, early March. And then we got that slug of cold weather and some rain. And
a bunch more rain too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It was like, man, they flipped a switch, and I'll tell you, talk about leaving you scratching your head. So, what Richard said is these periods, we got kind of a mirror image of this in the fall. It'll really leave you scratching your head. You can look like a hero for a few days and then look like a total zero the next. It's amazing. And you feel like the fish haven't left. I mean, they haven't really changed that much, but man, they just get either logjawed or something changes. We caught 2 bull reds on my trip yesterday up in a river, which was kind of the highlight of the trip. And even the bull reds we caught had the little worms on their belly, which means, it's telling me they're basically everything kind of laying down in the mud, Now, the last several days, the water temperatures come up 2 or 3 or 4 degrees every day since last week. And again, the fish reacted a lot better to it today. There was as much bait activity and surface movement as I've seen in a week and a half. And this is the best trip I've had since a week ago Monday, so a week and a half. It's the best trip, and it still wasn't spectacular. Don't get me wrong, but compared to what I've had for the last week, it was really a pretty good day.
Do you think these fish are just kind of, like you say, I know they're in a transition period. They just had a bunch of huge shocks, cold, hot. Now we're kind of getting on maybe a little more stable plane. You think they might even out a little bit?
I do. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to go into this today. I noticed when we hit the dock this afternoon, around lunchtime today, the water temperature got to 64. But I noticed in my truck when I was driving home, it was showing 76, and that's the temperatures, the air temperatures that we're going to have for the next, I guess as far out in the forecast as I've seen is those mid, almost upper 70 degree daytime temperatures. But the key is the nighttime temperatures aren't.
And the lows aren't going to be near as low either. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right here.
Not nearly as low. Yesterday I was driving to my trip. No, not yesterday. Yeah, yesterday driving to my trip yesterday, and I showed 39 at one point. So
dang.
I mean
that's a heck of a swing.
That's it's a big swing, and it brings that water temperature down. But now we'll get these brighter skies and longer days, and it's going to bring that water temperature. But the key, getting back to what you were just talking about, and what Richard brought up is, it's going to stabilize now. And the hard thing is to fish these big swings. Once everything stabilizes, everything kind of stays put and they pretty much act the same. But when you get these changes like we've had over the last week and a half, man, that's the hard deal. So yeah, I think we're going to have, hoping don't put the whammy on us, but I think we're going to be good for pretty good here for the rest of the spring. I hope, we're liable to get snow in April. Who knows? But
I tell you what how I always kind of look at it this time of year is like for springtime pattern, we're really wanting the fish to come up on the flats and get in that shallow water, and that's what it's like you and I have been kind of comparing some notes and stuff this week, and it's almost like we've been trying to force that to happen, but it's not really happening yet, so you kind of got to rethink that. And I'm just to our listeners, when you have these transition periods, if you fish, a handful of spots that are shallow water and you don't get any bites, and that we're kind of in this little funky in between area, you need to go back the other way, and that's kind of what's been working for me. And I think for you today too, getting back in a little bit deeper, more stable water temperatures, deeper, more stable places for the fish to be able to feed. But we like to think some of these fish are coming out of the rivers, and then some of them are resident fish in certain areas, and they come up on the flats when it gets warm. They fall back into the deep when it gets chilly. So you kind of got to find that pattern. I think that's kind of the key to success for me this time of year.
That's right, and and the fish tell you a lot about that. They tell you what they want. And I think that word transition almost comes from that, is where they're transitioning not only from the winter areas that they fish, which would be the rivers, transitioning to a shallow water deal, but they can kind of do it backwards, which I felt like kind of is what happened in the last week. Is you had a lot of fish that were kind of at the mouths of some of the rivers and out on the flats near the mouths of some of the rivers, and we got that shock. It was a 14 degree in 2 days. It dropped 14 degrees in one of the areas I was fishing. You had to pull back into the rivers, And the other thing that happened too this week is we had extremely low water levels. Mm-hmm. And so that shallow water deal, where you're fishing, a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, 3 feet of water was now a foot or a foot and a half. There were some places where, I ran across some stuff yesterday coming out of one of the rivers just because I got impatient trying to stay in the river. I ran across some places that I normally I don't even bat an eye at, and I knew it was going to be a problem, but I got too tired of waiting on the tide to come in that I ran across some stuff, and I tell you what, I found out how shallow that skeeter will run, because I tell you, I ran past a couple crabs to where the tops of the crab traps were showing. So the point I'm making is that stuff was where I was fishing before. If I'd have set the boat down, we'd probably still be there. I'd have to get y'all to send me my mail there, because we'd have still been there. But and so you had that happen too. You had this super, super cold or big water temperature swing. Then you had like no water there because of the cycle that we were on, and that really complicated things. You had to make some adjustments for that. But again, bringing this water temperature up, and then we're going to have these southeast winds for the next several days. That's going to fill it back up. Plus, we're going to come out of this big mega cycle, mega tide swing, and that's going to bring that water level up. So again, putting all that together, I think by this weekend and certainly by next week, I think we're going to be right back to where we were a couple of weeks ago.
Kind of waited out kind of deal. Sounds like
that's what I'm saying anyway.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. I'm holding you to it, Captain Bobby.
So the next time I'm on, maybe the next time I'm on a week or two, we'll go like, see, I told y'all. So I hope so anyway. But
that's right.
It felt like that's kind of what was starting to happen today. The fish. What really impressed me this morning on the trip is how much surface activity we had. But I haven't seen that kind of surface activity from the bait in a week or two. There was a lot of mullet on the surface, a lot of pogies. Where I was fishing today is not loaded with shrimp like down south. Some of the places are, but anyway, that's when I felt like some things were starting to happen. I was really tickled when I dropped my boat in and turned on the machine, and I was kind of going like, "Oh, come on, baby, come on!" And sure enough, it was like we were up over 60 degrees. Before daylight this morning. So
yeah, I was the exact same way when I dropped the boat in the water too, man. I turned it on the machine. I'm just sitting there like, "Ooh, please, baby, come on up, son. Come on up.
Get on up there, man. Get on up there." Yeah.
Well, awesome.
So they're reacting to it, but it was a kind of a weird stretch for the last week or so. So if our listeners were fishing and it was a struggle, don't get discouraged, man, because it was tough on the guys who are on the water 5-6 days a week. Now, I haven't talked. You guys have maybe had a sheephead report. I would think that some of that stuff probably really held up just fine, So don't go by us hard-headed, particularly me, a hard-headed trout redfish guy, because I'm not going to give up on that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So y'all have had.
Hey, well, Bobby, we've talked a lot about the transition and fish coming up on flats, falling off of them, water temperature, time of year, all that kind of stuff. But how are these fish starting to, kind of get off of that finfish diet and want to get more back to a shrimp diet down there and on the outside of some of these tidal rivers we've been fishing and stuff, or are you still seeing a finfish bite?
Well, both will work, but it's going to be as we get more into it, it's going to be a shrimp, either a shrimp imitation or a live shrimp type deal when you start getting more into the spring deal. And that's the way it always is too. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not going to have some really good slick lure fishing when the sun gets up a little bit, and certainly topwater fishing. Spring is some of the best topwater fishing of the year too. But as far as like looking for fish and locating them and getting them to bite, you're going to be hard pressed to beat some kind of shrimp imitation or live shrimp under a popping cork this time of year. Fishing upwind from slicks are going to really start slicking real well. Giving themselves away that way. So that's kind of just starting to happen, to where it's kind of switching over that way. I know we're set up for our trip tomorrow, and I know that the trips I'd been on in the a month ago or a few weeks ago, even up to a few weeks ago, I'm leaving with 10 or 12, 14 rods maybe, and maybe 2 have popping corks on them. And the setup that I got right now for the trips that we're going to be on, I think probably out of the 12 or 14 rods I'm going to carry, probably 10 of them have popping corks on them,
Yeah.
So I can see it going that way. I can see it going that way. And then we're going to have some trips here in the very near future that there's going to be some top waters tied on too for first thing in the morning. So
yeah, we're starting to get to that temperature's starting to get right for that.
Getting that
sure.
way. Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
That's right. And as the water temperature comes up too, that the fish get more active, which again brings them up on the surface, which makes it really work well for those top waters.
Awesome. Captain Bobby, that's a great report. And as always, well, if people want to book a trip with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
A-Team Fishing, all one word, is our 18fishing.com is our website, and you can just go to it. It's got a contact us tab on it, and you can call us or fill out the little form and hit us that way.
Awesome. Sounds great, buddy. We appreciate the report, and we'll talk to you next time, buddy. Keep whacking them.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, guys. That's a great segment. Let's take a break, and that segment was brought to you by MDH Foundation Repair. If your home was experiencing foundation problems, MDH Foundation Repair has the best solutions to fix it right and fix it now and protect your most important asset, your home. Check them out at mdhfoundationrepair.com. And also brought to you by CCA Alabama, a great way to support conservation projects like the Claude Petite Flounder and Speckled Trout Hatchery in the University of South Alabama Cobia Tagging Project is through the purchase of a distinctive CCA Alabama saltwater fishing license plate. You guys head over to Alabama Department of Revenue's distinctive license plate page at revenue.gov to get yours. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be doing something a little bit different today. We have a lot of people joining us, a ton of knowledge. I'm going to kind of sit back and soak this one up. We're joined with Joe Baya from Northwest Florida Fishing Report and my partner in crime. We got Captain Richard Rutland. We got Thomas Hilton, Hilton's Offshore Charts and the Realtime Navigator, and Captain Adam Peeples over there in Destin, Florida, One Shot Charters. How's everyone doing today?
Doing good. Doing great.
Awesome. I figured
Butch, I'll tell you how it is. If I was any better, I'd be you, Hulse.
Come on now. I figured we'd start this off with the big old brains of the operation. Mr. Thomas, just give us a snapshot. I know you sent us a few. I'll be posting them tomorrow on the social post that goes along with the fishing report, but just kind of walk us through what you're seeing offshore, buddy.
Yeah, man. You know, that warm core eddy that's parked out there, it's starting to bring some warmer water inshore. There's some washing into the fads. It's right around 70 degrees right now. I heard a report last week that there was some Dorado caught out there on the fads at 62-degree water, which kind of shocked the heck out of me.
That's a little early.
Yeah, a little cool. And then this warm core eddy's got kind of a witch's finger, like you were saying, that extending westward and washing into these rigs, the Devil's Tower, Thunder Horse, in that area. If I were targeting billfish, I mean, there's been some billfish caught out in the rigs. Who was that went out and caught 5 back in February?
Chris Hood. Yep, he was on the show last week. It just takes time. Yeah, he went 5 for 7. Yep.
Oh my God!
And a giant sword, a 250-pound sword.
Yeah, I should have known that.
You think Adam was over there just kind of like, well, I don't know about giant, you know?
Right.
Man, 350's a stud in the Gulf.
Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah. And then out there by Lloyd's Ridge, there is a textbook perfect that's a rip that's running a temp break that's very well organized. If there's any sargassum or flotsam out there, that's going to be a monster weed line running for miles north and south just to the west of Lloyd's. And it's about 78-degree water on the warm side, and it's a little off color on the cool side, but it's also running in through a nutrient-rich cyclone right there on Lloyd's as well. So you've got structure, the bottom structure, you got the good upwelling, and then you also have this really, really good rip. So, and the temperatures are within the range for some good billfish action. And of course, it's way in the heck out there, but that water's coming our way, and it's just a matter of time now. But I'm getting excited seeing how everything's shaping up.
Tom, that water that you're talking about there around Lloyd's Ridge, I mean, that's pretty much due south of Destin, Florida. You do have to go past those new fads to get there. You mentioned those fads a little bit earlier. I mean, if you were keyed in on that, that's a haul. Is it worth stopping at those fads right now? It does look like there's a little push of warmer water up through there.
Yeah, you know, the water, it's got a little bit of a blue tint. There's a lot of green water out there right now, but these warm fingers that are coming up from the loop current are washing into the fads area, and with it some a little bit better looking water. Like I said, there was some Dorado already caught out there, which I couldn't believe, already lower 60s on the temperature. And that was from a reliable source too.
Not like some fishing report podcast or something. It was, I mean,
that's right. It's a real deal.
Fishermen aren't always known to tell the truth a lot of times. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Hey, Tom, I got a question. I'm looking at your temperature chart, and then I'm looking at the chlorophyll chart, kind of showing the water clarity. You can almost see where that warmer water is creating some cleaner water in there. Is that a result of the picture, or is that, you can just see it in there, like that, like the witch's finger I was talking about. You can see where it's showing some cleaner water there. What's causing that?
That's the key. This time of year, we're looking for warmer water. That is probably the most critical thing to looking at. These warm fingers that are coming up from this warm core eddy are bringing this warmer and clearer water inshore and into the fads area and into the rigs. So yeah, that's a great sign of what's happening out there right now.
Yeah, that it's just kind of neat to correlate the two, the temperature and the water clarity. And I tell you the other thing I've been noticing too, since I've subscribed to I got a subscription now, and I've been looking at it every day. When you're talking about these upwellings and downwellings, you compare that to the current chart too, you can definitely see a correlation between that as well. Where you're kind of talking about, I think the last time you were on several weeks ago, where it's almost looks like a tornado, or like a funnel where the water's kind of twisting around. It's pretty neat to see it several different ways from how your program puts it.
Yeah, we had an issue with our altimetry a few days ago. Something happened with the feed at the government level there, and we had to divert over to the European model to generate the images from their data. Talking with one of the captains here, I won't name any names here out of Pensacola, but he's saying that, you don't need that altimetry. You just learn how to read the currents, and you'll see it there, right? So you'll see these big clockwise rotating warm core eddies, and then the byproducts, which are these nutrient-rich upwelling cyclones, counterclockwise currents. You'll get these situations where you'll have this clockwise current right next to a counterclockwise current, and that push where those isobars really push in together, you got some really, really good current in there. And it's really neither clockwise or counterclockwise. It's just good current. So those fish can push up into that warm core eddy somewhat on the outer edges. So I wouldn't really be too concerned if you see that it's coming in. If you're fishing into that warm core somewhat, it's just that you want that current.
For sure. Captain Adam, I know you subscribe to Realtime Navigator. I know you studied a pretty good bit too. You were saying how it's addicting earlier. What about this snapshot are you looking for? What, if you get a window, what excites you about what's going on right now from the satellites?
Yeah, what's blowing your skirt up? I want to hear it too.
Well, what's been firing me up is about what's pushing up into the spur area and getting close to the spur and those fads with those warm fingers of water like Tom was talking about coming around those fads. It's getting me fired up to do some wahoo fishing. I think those areas are going to probably be holding some wahoo, and I know my good buddy Captain Tim Klein caught some decent mahi in there last week. So I know if they're in there, the wahoos are probably in there. And man, I just looking at the imagery overall, and going off the past couple of years of what I've been seeing, man, it looks really, really good to me and promising for the spring coming up into the spur area, which is my backyard. I'm excited, man. It looks like it's going to be really good. I don't recall it in the last couple of years looking this good this time of year.
Yeah, you're looking at the temperature chart there. It looks like pretty much due east of the spur, kind of going straight north at Destin. You got a real nice temperature break right there. That you probably would be. It looks fishy to me on the map, where you got this two currents, two water temperature changes right next to each other. That looks like some juicy stuff for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, and keeping in mind too that those fads that have been there now for, I guess, almost a year, been there for a while, they're holding bait. And when something's holding bait like that, and it's kind of like a rig that holds a lot of bait, just because the conditions aren't perfect on that fad, when those good conditions bring the fish through, those fish probably are going to hang out around all that bait, whether the conditions move out or not. So that's why, to me, it seems like it's lining up to be pretty good out there right now.
You're talking about water temperatures, Tom, up in that area around the fad you've got higher water temperatures in relation to the water around it, but not what we would call really warm water necessarily, but it's holding fish quite obviously. We just heard, Capt and Adam talk about it. Those two solid reports that there's mahi in the area. When you're fishing for something, you want to target these pelagics in an area like this, and you see these fingers of warmer water, is there a strategy to are you just trying to stay in the warmer water? Or are you trying to fish the break where almost like you'd fish a rip? What are you looking for? And once you get into an area, I mean, you can use this to get close, but once you get into an area, what are you looking for to really pinpoint fish?
Well, when you get these warm influxes of water and they wash over certain structures, whether it's the fads or the spur or rigs or drill ship, whatever, any of those structures inside of that warm mass of water are game on. Now, you'll find that these fingers also form edges, these temp breaks that will, if there's any floatsam or sargassum out there, it'll form weed lines, which, open up your options as well and give you other opportunities to find fish along those, I call them buffet lines. These pelagic fish around these edges.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sign me up for a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
When you're able to filter the C-temp data, this one, it was from 67 to 70. You'll see a finger running through FAD, I think that's FAD 6, FAD and FAD 2. So there's a little bit warmer water up on the northern fads than there are on the southern fads, which it's just a very subtle thing, but it could be the difference. It's one of those little things that sometimes makes the difference on a successful or unsuccessful trip.
Well, and also too, like you think about, I think this way anyway, you get out to an area, you say you've got 8 fads to cover. Well, in what order? So you're looking at this right now, right. It almost looks like you'd be better, like you say, to work east to west in a zigzag than it would to necessarily work north and south along those fads. It's just something to start to try. And I think that's where the nuance can come in. You really start to learn from the data. Does anybody else see, like Tom, like in the Realtime Navigator lab, like in a white coat with like bubbling beakers all around him? Is this what y'all envision?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Sprinkle a little
like
Wahoo scale in this beaker, he's like, oh yes, I see.
It looks pretty delicious here.
Like Captain Peeples I think it was Captain Peeples a while ago was saying, hey, I don't remember this being like this last year and so forth. Well, one of the things on Hilton's is we don't let go of any data. So if it hits the server, it sticks and we keep it, so you can go back in time and all the different imageries and search the archives and look and see why did you catch your fish on that spot on that day back in 2019 or whatever. And you can actually document it with the HELP program, the Hilton's electronic logbook program on the lower left nav bar. You can create a trip log and reverse engineer your trip and create your fish catch locations on the spots where you caught your fish. And then if you click on the name of that fish catch location, it'll give you all the information on that day about that spot, like your temperature and chlorophyll concentration, current, speed, and direction, and so forth. So that stays in your program for you to refer back to at your leisure. So if you fish the same tournament every year, or you fish, let's say you just like you go out on Memorial Day weekend. Last year we had a great time. Let's go back and look at that weekend. What were the conditions? And where'd you catch your fish relative to those conditions? And then look at today's imagery and look for similar conditions and
match those up.
Help you to, it'll help you to determine where to go tomorrow based on what you did in the past.
Tom, that's a really neat feature. I don't know why people ask me to do seminars and talk about fishing and stuff, but that's supposed to be funny. Y'all are supposed to laugh.
I'm not laughing.
But anyway, one thing I kind of preach a lot, and I know I've said it on this on the podcast and in seminars and stuff, is like, pay attention to what you're doing when you do it. I keep a logbook, just notes, weekly notes. That I put in I have a little program I set up on my computer where I'll just make some quick notes, and it really helps you to refer back to those things. And man, obviously I haven't figured out how to use that yet on your software there, but I need to. But that's really neat. You got that kind of built in where you kind of help yourself, over the years.
I'm pretty sure Captain Adam has a pretty diligent log, don't you, Captain?
No, I do have a log. I keep a log. I keep track of most everything. And it is really, like Tom was saying, man, it's really cool to be able to go back and look. And I do that. Go back and look, especially like a year or 2 years ago, we had a really, really awesome swordfish bite in May. Kind of going back and exploring the conditions and seeing, what may have caused that bite to fire off.
Mm-hmm.
Still can't figure out what it was, but it's cool to look back and see,
if it ever matches up again.
Yeah. I'd love to say that I've cracked the code and have the key, but that'd be a lie. So it's cool to go back.
The key to that, Adam, is that you're asking yourself those questions. You know what I mean? Whether you figure them out or not, that to me is what I think, for our listeners, everybody needs to be doing,
Which you leaps ahead already. Yeah.
Yep. Ask yourself the question, why'd I catch a fish? Why'd I not catch a fish? I think that kind of goes a long way, if you want to get better at it anyway.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's kind of cool too, is when you go back in time on the site, you're also going back to the waypoint file that was active on that day. So one of the parameters, let's say you're fishing a drill ship. Well, that's a big feature or a big factor in why you caught your fish on that spot. And so when you go back to like last May or last June or whatever, that is that's something that I really kind of like to go back and you can see what the positions of all the drill ships and the semi-submersibles in the Gulf were on that particular day.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that to be very, very helpful. So it's like I said, there's a lot of factors that go into why you catch a fish on one spot on that day, and that's a big factor. So I try to. That's why we want to memorialize that on the image, is so that those positions of those fish tracking devices, such as a drill ship or a semi-submersible, are a big factor too.
Tom, that's a really awesome offshore snapshot. It was cool to be able to have 2 guys that are out on the water every day ask you some questions about how to use the service. I know you offer that to everybody. I mean, they can call you and talk to you. You'll have great customer service if somebody wants to ask questions. I mean, obviously Richard doesn't know what he's doing at all.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. Actually,
he probably needs to call you and
I was just going to say, it's going to be cool to see legit. It's going to be cool to see Richard start from, being a very beginning user and how he adapts to it and how it affects his fishing.
Right. I would just say an all around beginner fisherman.
Whatever. Whatever.
But no, thank you for that snapshot, Tom. We're gonna include some snapshots to some screenshots on our Facebook post. I know, Butch, you've already got those, so y'all can kind of see where this water is in the areas that we're talking about. But we're going to jump into the offshore report, Tom. So if folks want to get up with you and take a look at everything you guys have going on, where should they go?
Hilton's offshore.com. That's where you can find us. I encourage all of our subscribers to, if you have any questions or issues using the service, to contact me and we will answer your question or address whatever you got going on.
Awesome. We appreciate you being on this week, buddy, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
All right, Capt. Adam. Well, we got an idea where the good water is in blue water, but there are some of the offshore seasons are starting to open up. Triggerfish season is open now. It's really everything's starting to happen. It's literally starting to heat up. So what's been going on offshore for you out of Destin?
Yeah, man. I've been doing a little bottom fishing. I've been doing a little sword fishing. And yeah, man, it's nice that the temperatures have been Spring finally arrived after the warm, dry winter that we were promised was not so much warm and dry.
Not so much at all.
Yeah, man. Oh, golly, it's been brutal. But no, it's been great. It's been warming up. Fishing's, I ran a few trips. The fishing's been pretty good. Bottom fishing wise, vermilion snapper, porgies, the triggerfish have been ravenous. Lots of shorts to work through, but there's some good ones in there. You just have to get all the little piranhas out of the way first. But yeah, the fishing's been good there. Got offshore and did some sword fishing. Wasn't a red hot bite by any means, but we did get a bite and we turned it into a fish, which is always a good day. Yeah, man, it's just I'm excited. I think it's gonna be a good spring.
Yep, I saw your swordfish catch the other day. It looked like you got a new rod, man. I was checking that out.
I did see that. Yeah,
I was checking that out on your social media page there, man. That's really, really cool detail in that rod, whatnot. I could kind of care less about all the details. I want to know how it functioned, man. How'd you like your new stick there?
I got to tell you, man, and this is a shameless plug for Chaz Heller at Got 'em Fishing Rods, man. That rod. It exceeded my expectations tenfold. It's really, the tip action is incredible. Where it loads up, the backbone is located perfectly. I put it to you this way. As soon as I got back into cell phone range, I sent him a picture of that fish and I said, go ahead and build me 2 more. So
that's what I'm talking about. Big money, huh?
Yeah. If it works, you can't replace it,
It is a fine rod, and a blind man could see the bite on that rod. I'll tell you that.
Well, we could sit here and talk about what makes a good swordfish rod, but it sounds like he's got the blank figured out. He's got it figured out. Probably just need to get up with Jazz and ask him for the same thing. But what do you look for? I mean, did you work with him and talk to him about the kind of rod you wanted and what you were looking for? Did he come to you and say, hey, I got it?
No, I did. So I talked to him. I've been using the Melton Tackle Get Tight Sucker rods. They're built in California. And so I said, you know what, man? Like, look, I've known of Chaz for a long time. I've seen him on the water. I know he's a sword fisherman. He's a fisherman. He's done charters for a long time. An all-around good dude. And I said, man, I'd like to bring my business local. And so I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I'd like for you to build me a rod. And he asked me some questions, and I said, yeah, this is how I fish. This is the weight I normally fish. It's kind of my thing. This is how I do it. And he said, I got you. I said, all right, man. And to be honest, I was skeptical that it could be better than the rods that I currently use, or I was using. Those Melton rods are great rods. Obviously it was a beautiful rod. I gave him no direction on what to do or how to do it. The detail on it's incredible, and that's cool. But like you're saying, like I'm concerned with how it fishes. And first bait down, we got to test it out, and I'm here to tell you, man, that's the finest swordfish rod I put my hands on. It's incredible.
That's cool. I build rods myself, and just looking at some of that, like how we made the little swordfish kind of going all the way up the blank towards the tip. I don't know. I don't know how he did that. He said he wrapped. It looked like wrap. He wrapped. Yeah. I kind of geeked out on it. And I went to his page and got him gas.
Yep.
Yeah.
And looked at all that, and I was like, man, that's incredible. I was like, that's way above my pay grade, But
Richard's gonna be like peeking in his shop. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm tempted to call him and ask him about the blank and stuff, because that's kind of the hard part about building rods, is like picking the right blank, because basically, you're looking at a website that tells you, what pound line it is, and if it's heavy or extra heavy or XX heavy, and it's a moderate or fast tip, you got to figure out.
I'm sure there's a billion of them too.
Oh yeah, and it's hard to order something offline just looking at a bunch of numbers, without getting it in your hand. So it's kind of neat.
Just call them up and tell them you want the one-shot special.
That's right.
The cool thing about Chaz is he sword fishes. He knows the drill. He knows what he's talking about. He's done it with a bunch of different people. He's very knowledgeable. I can't say how much I was impressed with that rod. It was.
Did you get it set up to do like a 3 to 5 pound stay weight on there?
I'm actually, it's even lighter than that. I mean, I told him, typically I fish 2 pounds. So
Okay.
I said, man, I want it super light. I want lots of tip. And I mean, I very, very rarely fish over 2 pounds. And man, like I say, a blind man can see the bite. The first whack we saw on that rod tip had to have moved 10 inches. I mean,
That's awesome.
Man.
I mean, it's sweet, dude.
If that don't get you fired up, nothing will, huh?
No doubt.
Absolutely.
Well, Adam, let's bring it back inshore a little bit and discuss some of these bottom species. You were talking about having to wade through small triggers, and I think that's a good segue into our Hey Cap question this week. Butch, who's bringing us the Hey Cap? I know it's a triggerfish question. Let's
sure.
talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, man, let's get into it. It's applicable. Those things just opened up March 1. They're delicious. Love them, man. We don't talk about the trigger. We can get them trigger throats. So we ain't gonna talk about them.
No. Those do not exist.
That's a different.
Those don't exist.
Different tip for a different day. This week's Hey Cap question comes from James Hall. James Hall says, "Hey Cap, it looks like I'll barely make it down to Fort Morgan before trigger season ends. I've never really considered targeting them. They've always been bycatch when I'm looking for other reef species. Any suggestions on how to target triggers specifically, and what is your favorite technique to catch them?" I'll add bait as well. So just kind of walk us through your setup and what you're looking for whenever you target those, Captain Adam.
Cool. Yeah. So basically, when I'm targeting them, I'm not necessarily specifically targeting triggerfish. I'm also targeting vermilion snapper and all those other things, and they all eat the same rig, squid. On a 2-hook rig. The main difference is how triggerfish bite and how they'll steal your bait. They're much more peckers. And if you get on a spot where there's some good triggers, and listen, big triggerfish like to hang out in the same spots that big red snapper do. So if you got a spot that's got some big red snapper, it's probably got some big triggerfish on it. And one thing I'll say about catching the bigger triggerfish is, rather than dropping down on the bottom or fishing closer to the bottom, those triggers are so aggressive. They come up high.
Yep.
So let's just say, for instance, you're fishing in 100 foot of water. You can drop your squid down 50 feet, halfway down, and just stop it right there, and you're going to get the bite right there. And that way you're weeding out all of the rubies and anything else that you're not trying to catch. And if you get a bite, it's going to be a triggerfish. But that's really how I target them day in and day out. Now, if I go out fishing just by myself and I'm looking to goof off and have some fun with some triggerfish, I might take like a 1 or 2 ounce bucktail jig and put a tip of squid on it and try to get them on the jig, because they're so aggressive. They attack anything. I've caught some really big ones doing that too. But day in, day out, chicken rig with some squid fished up higher in the water column is going to get you connected.
Yeah.
What about a hook size, Adam? I mean, that's another thing, is you got to make sure you got the right hook with triggerfish. What are you finding the most success with right now?
A light wire, small hook.
Small, got them little bitty mouths.
Yeah, the same hooks that I use for bingos. Usually just the mustad perfect circles work really well. Size is a preference, and honestly, the way that the supply shortages have been lately, it's just been whatever works. Anything from a number 2 to a 2.0 will work, really. The smaller you can go, the better. You just have to use the appropriate if you get a good triggerfish on, they're going to give you a fight. And if you've got too much drag on them, you're just going to straighten those little light wire hooks. So the main thing is just let them pull on you. Let them take a little line and then take your time with them, and you'll get them. But the smaller hook you can go, the easier it is for it to get a good bite in that tough skin they have and get between those weird teeth. So the smaller the better, really.
Weird teeth is right. I'll even add to that, man. You say they hang out where the snapper hang out and higher up in the water column. I've had really good success with going down even like even as short as a 7 count, waiting 5 or 6 seconds, jiggling it, then go down to a 12 count, 5 or 6 seconds, and jiggle it until you find those fish. Those triggerfish, especially the bigger ones, will come way on up in the water column.
Absolutely. I mean, I've literally had triggerfish take bait out of my hand next to the boat.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
I've taken people with fly rods, and we've caught them with fly rods. Those jokers are so aggressive. If you're on a spot that's got good triggers, especially on a calm day with light current, throw a few chunks out, look down in the water, and you'll see them come up. Now, fishing deeper structure out there on the 180, 200 foot, they're on a lot of stuff. Just look for those marks up high. You'll see the mingos marking up and the schooled up. When you see those marks that are not quite as big as a big snapper or an amberjack, but decent sized marks, and they're coming up way higher in the water column, that's usually triggers. I mean, they're just about all over everything these days.
Adam, talking about the rest of the fishery, the springtime is known for bait struggles. It's known for a lot of fish just starting to show up. Have you heard any reports of mackerel, any cobia reports? And what's the bait situation like? I mean, have you guys been targeting bait since it sounds like it's more of a bottom bite? What's been going on in those fronts?
Yeah, so I have not heard of any mackerel yet. I would anticipate that's going to happen pretty soon. Or cobias, for that matter. Haven't heard of anything, but to be honest, I'm kind of unplugged from Facebook these days, so there's certainly possible that somebody's gotten into them. Bait-wise, I will say that the bait's been pretty consistent for us. It's not in the inlet and then in the shallows like people are accustomed to catch them in the summertime, but the near shore structure and 50 to 70 feet of water, it's got plenty of cigar minnows and nice hardtails and herrings. I mean, you just got to look around for it. It does move around, but if you find a spot that's holding it, that's just a good chance it's going to be there for a little bit. I mean, it's just moving around, find it, looking on your machine and finding those blobs of bait. It's really not hard to catch bait this time of year. You just have to look for it. Once you find it, it's easy to catch on the sabiki.
Hey, Adam, one more question, one more little segment, then we're going to let you go. Great Days Outdoors just did a very good article on catching wahoo, and you mentioned that earlier when we had Thomas Hilton on. You really maybe talk about that a little bit. What's your go-to rig? Are you a high speeder? Are you a live baiter? Do you like the cowbells or just bullet head skirts, trolling weights? What's your go-to rig, man?
Man, I'm a little different than probably most folks fish for them around here. I don't like shaky heads or diving plugs a whole lot. I'll use them occasionally. I'll use a Yo-Zuri Bonita if I'm running a mixed spread, but if I'm specifically targeting wahoo, I am pulling Islanders and ballyhoos. And I'll pull 2 Islander ballyhoos on heavy trolling leads off the corners, and then I'm going to pull Sea Stars and ballyhoos off the riggers. And I've had so much success with that spread. And the cool thing about it is the ballyhoo and the Islander combo, just because you're looking for a wahoo,
I'd open you up for whites and sails and everything.
And you never know. I mean, a big mahi or whatever. I mean, I can remember last March about this time of year, and of course it was a little warmer, but I found a big floating log on a charter, and I pulled that spread right across it, and we ended up with a bull dolphin about 30 pounds and a nice wahoo at about 45 pounds on a double. If you're pulling a straight wahoo spread, you're not going to get that dolphin most likely.
No doubt.
And it's just, there's pluses and minuses to everything. That's what I like to do. It works for me. I like pulling meat. This works.
Adam, with that spread, every boat's a little different. Every captain's got the speed that they like. What do you like? I mean, because that's not a high speed spread. So what speed are you looking for?
That was my next question, Joe.
Well,
around 7 knots ish. You got to look at sea state and how things are. I mean, it really depends on how the ballyhoo's swimming. I mean, just look back at your lures and see how it's swimming. Now, the ones on the corners on the trolling leads, they're underwater. They're grabbing water the whole time. They're going to be swimming better at a more wide range of speed versus the Sea Stars I like to run. I mean, I like to have them skipping, grabbing a little air, and running a good smoke trail. As long as they're doing that, man, the bites you get on those Sea Star ballyhoos are so cool, because half of the time that wahoo is going to shoot himself about 10 feet out of the water when he bites that thing. And it's just awesome to see.
Yeah. Straight into the fish box. I love eating those things.
That's
too.
right.
Man.
Delicious.
So, hey, let's talk about this a little bit. So, Adam, you're talking about pulling meat baits and slower speeds. When I think Islander, I'm thinking monofilament, heavy monofilament leaders. When I'm thinking wahoo, I'm thinking wire, I'm thinking cable, I'm thinking crazy fast speeds and toothy critters. I know I've caught some wahoo on marlin lures before where we had heavy mono, and I've been cut off by a wahoo on really heavy mono. What do you like to use for your leader material, pulling at these slower speeds, pulling these meat baits, targeting other fish besides wahoo when you know you got that toothy critter that's going to be in the mix?
I'm a mono the whole way. I mean, even on my tremblers and my shaky heads, I pull mono. I don't pull wire ever. I'd rather chance losing that lure and getting that bite than not getting the bite at all. And I think I might have lost one lure to a wahoo ever, maybe. And, I use 250-pound mono on all my stuff, with the exception of sometimes on the Sea Star ballyhoos on the riggers. Sometimes I'll run 150. But, I mean, I've had a wahoo choke on a Sea Star with 150 and just down in the throat, and he still didn't bite us off. I mean, I really feel like, most of the time they bite you off, they get you in the corner of their mouth. And if you've got 150, 250, or 400, if they get you in the corner of the mouth, it's like a pair of cleavers. It's going to cut you off no matter what. But it works, and I feel like you just get more bites with the mono. The lures have better action with mono. You get that stiff wire, this is not going to get the same action. And I haven't really felt like I needed wire in those situations. And high speed is in a whole nother ball game. I just don't do a whole lot of it. You can definitely want wire for that, but for pulling lures at 7 knots, I just don't see any need for it.
Yep. You got to stick with what works too, man. We appreciate you being on. That's a great Hey Cap question. James is going to get a prize pack from the Slick Lure. James, make sure you email us at alabama@bestfishingreport.com with your shipping address to get your Slick Lures. Captain Adam, if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, I know stuff's getting hot. What's the best way to get in contact with you, buddy?
Best way is just check out www.oneshotcharters.com. It's got our phone number, our email, and all of our social media. They can check out everything they need to. Just give us a call, too, 850-585-9436. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about anything.
Awesome, man. We look forward to some great reports this summer, and talk with you next time. Thank you again for the report.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Y'all have a good one. Man,
that's some good stuff, guys. It's good to know that sounds like offshore is kicking off a little bit early this year. Hopefully, I like the sound of those mahi coming in a little early in these lower temperatures than they should be. It seems. That was later usually,
That's right. That was one of the better offshore segments I think we've had on here. With
lots of good tidbits.
Oh my goodness, man. Great.
Yeah.
And kind of covering a broad range of species and things, we're talking about, I think Joe was kind of, chuckling at Tom a little bit about Lloyd's Ridge. That's a long way out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a Flemish Cap for sure. Yeah. Definitely the Flemish Cap.
We're talking about 150 miles offshore all the way into catching triggerfish. That's
right.
You
cover it all.
Well, I think what we all can agree on is that I want to know who named all that stuff out there.
I know, right? I think about that a lot of times, man. Who named it the dumping grounds or the double nipple or what?
Right.
Well, I think that's obvious, but we don't have to go there.
Yeah,
I think that Mr. Lloyd probably named Lloyd's Ridge, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Maybe
the spur. There was something weird going on out there with some fighting chickens. Maybe I'm not sure.
Yeah,
El Diablo. How
and then I'd say the other one I laugh about is way over to the east, the Squiggles. I mean,
Squiggles. Well, we wouldn't be where we are without the Far Tortuga,
Of course.
Everybody knows the story behind that.
All good spots.
Right.
Well, man, we got to finish
boys.
this thing up. Yeah, man. Enjoyed you being on with us today. And I'm sure we'll collaborate again soon, man.
Yeah, it's always good to kind of join on an offshore report. It's all the same water out there to some extent, but we got to go talk inshore and onshore for Northwest Florida because it's very different than what you guys have going on over there.
We're gonna see what the old I don't even know what to call him anymore. The creek bum, the beach bum. We don't know. We're gonna
get the bass bum. I mean,
we're gonna get the scoop
kayak
today.
Who knows where Ultimate's gonna be? But
we're gonna find out today. We're gonna get the scoop and find out what's going on with him. So that's where we're headed.
Very exciting. All right, boys. Well, y'all wrap it up, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Joe. Sounds good, buddy. You'll have a good show. All right, man. It's another great segment, great offshore segment from Captain Adam Peeples. We're going to take a break, and you guys check out our local sponsor for the week. This week's Hey Cap sponsor is Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. Often when a business is small, you miss the professionalism you get with larger companies. That's not the case with Fortified Roofing Pros. They're a family-owned business that is big enough to get the job done, but small enough to care. If you're looking for quality construction with a dependable, licensed, and certified fortified roofing professional, give the Fortified Roofing Pros a call at 251-973-9999. Remember to support the local businesses that make your local podcast possible and check them out at fortifiedroofingpros.com. All right, Captain Richard, let's head on down to Orange Beach, Alabama, Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan. And heck, we don't even know now. We don't, the Bama Beach Bum is so versatile now that we don't even know. We call him, the past couple of weeks, we've had the Bama Creek Bum. We've had the Bama, what else we got, Cap? I don't even know.
It's the ultimate beach bum, bro. He's ultimate, man. I'm always forever going to call him ultimate, man. He's the ultimate bum. Damn it, man.
Well, welcome back to the show, man. We've been skepticizing about what you've been up to, brought your name up a couple times. We wish you'd have been on, but it's been a while since we heard from you, man. So it's time to get the scoop. What's going on with you, Mathew Isbell?
Well, thanks. I am super stoked to be back on the show because I can't even remember the last one that I was.
It's been a long time.
I mean, it definitely. I mean, months.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, what you've been doing, man.
Man, I've been all over the place, and if people follow my YouTube channel, they've been following this story, and I bought a kayak, and I've used that cheap little piece of plastic. I mean, I've covered some ground, man. I've been all over the place, and a lot of areas, and just exploring, and a lot of learning for me. A lot of this was completely new to me. It's doing a lot of things I'd never done before. Which I think is that's what I love the most about fishing. I really love just stretching yourself, continuing to learn, and it's never ending, and it's so cool. So I've really enjoyed this off season. And one thing that I'll say about everything that I've done, which has just been a lot of different things, I will not dread the cold months like I've always have, because I've been so, limited. With big shore-bound, and shore-bound fishing over the winter months can be very, very difficult. Like you don't have a ton of options. I mean, and usually those options aren't even great. So you just don't have a lot. Yeah,
don't have a lot going on. Yeah, I mean, and you get we talk about all the time on here. Just quit beating your head against the wall. Go do something a little different. That was going to be my next question. Is do you feel like you've really honed in as a speckled trout fisherman, or as a red fisherman, or learning more about each species, doing the different things you've been doing?
I've definitely grown a lot. I mean, I'm not going to come and say I'm good at any of it, but I've definitely had more success at just being able to get on the water and study and, pick up from other people. I've fished with a lot of folks and just try to learn. I mean, the cool thing in the position that I'm in, I mean, it's with creating content, that's my job. I mean, my job is to go out and go fish and find fish and document that experience. And so that's all I'm in you got to pinch yourself sometimes. This is crazy that this is my life, but my job is literally just to go every day and figure out where I can go catch fish, whatever it looks like. And so I'm fortunate in that regard that I get that opportunity, and that's literally my job, is just to go fish and learn new things. And even if I suck it up and I'm terrible at it, that's okay. I don't have to be amazing. I mean, people actually really enjoy that. They enjoy seeing me struggle, and
they're learning while you're learning.
Yeah, the good, the bad, the ugly. Hey,
that's right.
Hey, Ultimate, I can relate to you, man, when you're talking about that wintertime. I mean, I remember when I used to kind of wintertime hit, and I almost kind of feel like I go in hibernation, maybe get a little depressed or something like that, man. And then, and I'm talking about a long time ago, even before I started guiding. I always hated the cold, hated wintertime, the whole 9 yards. And I have really, really, really grown to love the winter. And
so many options fishing down here in our area, man. You can do so much.
And it's as soon as you figure out how to dress right, you know what I mean? Know how to dress for the weather you're going in. You can be super comfy out there. And man, it's just a whole new world. I don't know, man. I love it. I can't get enough.
And I'm new to this, so I could be wrong here. Correct me if I am, but I would imagine that throughout the winter months, you kind of have the water to yourself a little bit. You don't have nearly as much competition as far as boats being on the water, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, no, that's I wouldn't say that's 100% the case. There's definitely
a lot less traffic.
There is a lot less traffic.
I would say
sure.
trout fishing and inshore fishing in our area has definitely picked up in the last couple of, what we say, Rich, 5, 7, 8 years. But for the most part, as far as traffic in general goes, absolutely.
That's right. But yeah, it's definitely dialed down, and that's relative to where you're going to. You know what I mean? Man, if I was you over there in Orange Beach, man, it sounds like talking to Vesse and couple of those other guys over there. There's like a bunch of little creeks and stuff you guys can like hide in and find these little tight places where you can find some fish and have some success.
Some cool species, some different stuff that we get over here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and that's kind of what you're talking about your kayak, man. I have kayak fished before. I load up a tackle box and a couple of rods, and I've
ain't
done
never
that
been in a kayak. Come on.
Look, guys, I promise I have. Okay, it's not my cup of tea, not my jam, but I can appreciate fishing from a kayak. Now, I tell you what I really liked about fishing from a kayak was when you're in a kayak, you're in a boat, but you're not displacing any water. You know what I mean? You can go in these super skinny places.
Stealth mode.
The fish don't even know you're there. Versus I go in the same place in my 25-foot bay boat, man, and it's like moving all kinds of water and turbulence and the whole 9 yards, man. The fish are like, "Oh, something's going on around here," Like, well, what is this big thing coming after me?
Yep.
You're in a kayak, man. You're like you're in stealth mode. That's the cool part of kayak fishing,
So Mathew, I know you're going through a little bit of a transition here and just doing different things, man. What can we expect from the Bama Beach Bum moving forward?
Yeah, well, I made an announcement on my channel. I'm not going to be guiding any longer, which I've done that for the last 4 seasons. I've got like a few trips that I already had on the books that I'm still running, but I'm not booking any additional. Content creation was always the goal for me. I wanted to get to a point where that could be my focus, making videos for YouTube and online in general. And fortunately, I mean, I'm so thankful because it's wild to be in a position that you can go and fish for yourself, document it, put it on the internet, and people watch it. And, with that comes opportunities, of course, making money on the platforms. But not only that, I've been fortunate to pick up a few sponsors, and that's just really propelled our opportunity. So the world we live in, man, it's
crazy.
It is, because I make money on Facebook. I can make money on YouTube. I make money on Amazon. I make money through my sponsors. There's so many different sources of revenue. Teespring, I sell merchandise through there. So when everything adds up, I mean, it becomes a legitimate business that you're creating, and I had guiding as another stream of revenue for those 4 years. But, I've been in the process since I started my channel, which will be 4 years this year, of building all these other revenue streams. And it's grown enough over the 4 years that I can now focus on that, because a video is so much more valuable in the long term. It's almost like a stock in a way, because it never turns off. Like once I throw that video up on the internet, it constantly gets views, which, I'm getting paid for the views. I get paid from the people that come on and click and buy products and merchandise or buy products with my sponsors, like that. It never turns off. So going out and running a guide trip for me, obviously that was a great way to make money for those 4 years and helped me get to where I am. But, it's a one-time deal, or, you may get recurring customers, but
you're adapting.
Correct.
That's one reason why that Joe and I talk about all the time, or Richard and Patrick and everyone that's involved in the podcast. It's evergreen, man. I mean, you can go back and listen to the very first podcast that we ever recorded, and people still do. In March, people still listen to the very first podcast that we ever recorded because it's still valuable.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's a great the internet, man. It's just
crazy.
You think you would know, it makes so much sense. It's like a the internet, but
still blows my mind though.
It is.
Yeah, it's wild.
Well,
congratulations, congrats on that.
Yeah, Ultimate. That's what I was gonna say, man. Congrats. I tell you something I think about with my career, man, and you've done the same thing, but in a much shorter amount of time. but you have to pay your dues. You know what I'm saying? You have definitely paid your dues in this business. You have earned your keep, and now you've taken it to the next level. And man, I just would have never thought I would have heard those words come out of your mouth that you said that you weren't guiding anymore, man. You're a content creator, man. I mean, that is awesome, dude. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm going to see you on the Discovery Channel one day with your own fishing show with Louisa or something. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know that I'm a good fit for cable television. You know, I mean, I guess Bill Dance, you know, he looked like a goofball, and he did pretty good for himself.
Yes, he did.
You know, because I pretty much look like an idiot about 90% of the time. So
that's why I always say I have a face for radio. So.
Man,
Butch, that's great.
Butch, that is not true. Ultimate true.
I'm not sure which one's better.
On the looks here,
y'all should switch roles. Butch is way prettier than you are, Ultimate. Okay.
I would agree with that. And I gotta say, nobody can see this, but like the beard comparisons here, we've got two pretty glorious beards, and then you've got my, you know, what I got, whatever this is going on. So
scratch.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's the sign of a good fisherman's a big beard. That's all I can say. Wise man once said.
I'm working on it.
I wouldn't say a big beard. How about a full beard?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Ultimate Budweiser, man, that'll fix that. I promise.
Oh yeah, a little hair on my face and chest. I'll get to work on that.
I'll bring you a 24-pack next week. All right.
That's right.
Sounds good.
Well, man,
we'll go fish.
I don't even know if I've said it on here yet, but I'm no longer doing my day job. Mathew quit his day job. Let's get some fishing content going, man. Let's do some videos.
That's right. Absolutely. Anytime. That's all I do, man. I got nothing better to do. So anytime you want to fish, I'm down.
Good, man.
Have we even talked about what fish you've been catching lately, Ultimate? I don't think we've got there, have we?
No.
What'd you do this week?
Well, this week, let's see, what did I do? I've been doing, for me, something that I've really loved, like over the last couple of months, I've spent a lot of time lights fishing. I had not really ever done that.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. And, so I spent a lot of time lights fishing, and kind of coming out of that, people would kind of make fun of me because I would go I'd go at like 10 o'clock at night and wouldn't get home until daylight. And I would stay out there, and it'd be like literally in some of these videos, it was like 28 degrees, and I'm on my kayak in the pitch black dark. And you know, the scariest thing, let me tell you, you know, because it can be a little bit spooky out there, you know, all by yourself on the water, dark, in this cheap little Pelican kayak. But the spookiest thing, if you've never done this, or if you've ever done this, are beavers. Have you ever experienced this?
Not at nighttime.
Okay. All right. Have you never heard a beaver slap its tail at night, pitch black dark?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It sounds like a dang cinder block. You think, okay, like I'd heard it before this experience, but like I'm kayaking like through this little stretch. There's no houses, no lights, it is pitch black dark. I mean, kayaking through the woods, there's no moonlight, and I can't see anything. And I hear a beaver tail slap the water, and it sounds like the first instinct in my brain, like, and I don't know why my brain went here, but I was like, did somebody just freaking dive in the water chasing me? Like, why? What happened? And so like I like shine my spotlight around, looking around, I see this stupid beaver swimming to shore, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But it's
got
scary.
beaver problems.
I did. Yeah, man, you got to watch out for those beavers.
You need some beaver security, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I just sent you guys a picture that was in my time hop. I caught a 21. The reason I say this is because I've been seeing you catch some striper, man. There's nothing like it. It's fun, man. In my time hop exactly 3 years ago, I caught a 21 pounder.
Nice.
In Baya River.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't
super light tackle. Yeah,
I haven't caught a big one yet, but you know, I've caught several this year, and this is the first year I've ever even caught a striper. And I spent some time targeting them, and they're so aggressive. They're just an aggressive fish. And like for me, what I figured out, there was like the only time I've caught them, and I've had success several mornings now with them, but the only time that I was able to catch them was like that 15 to 20 minutes before sunup, and it would be like a dang feeding frenzy. We're kind of past it now. I don't know. The striper fishing last, a few times, but I haven't been that good. But like while it was colder and stuff, I was having a little bit more success. But like you would throw like a jerkbait, and I learned this from Chris Veche, because Chris Veche knows like freaking everything. It's
Striper
crazy.
whisperer.
He is the oracle, he knows everything. And so he was telling me, he's like, man, because there's jerk baits, I was working them like I would work them for trout, like twitch balls. And he was like, no, dude, he's like, you need to just straight retrieve it. And I'm like, okay. So like I would like burn it through these lights and stuff for these striper, like just super fast, and watching these striper like compete for it and chase it down and just freaking smack it. Oh my gosh. Like it's
Nothing
the most
like it.
addictive thing. Yeah. So I got really jonesed for that. And so I did a lot of striper fishing, night fishing. I spent a lot of time in the creeks, up until then.
I see a sheephead video recently.
Sheep's head fishing is I say this all the time, is my absolute least favorite type of fishing.
Really?
I love catching a sheep's head. I mean, they tug hard. I mean, obviously they're delicious, but as far as like, you can show up and sometimes get like on a super hot sheep's head bite, and like every time you drop a crap down, you're getting bit and catching fish. And I've had those times, but a lot of the time you're just sitting there hanging over a rail or hanging off the side of the boat for long periods of time with nothing, which I'm okay with that fishing, like especially on the beach. I don't mind chilling, sitting back watching rods, but like if I'm just sitting there hanging a live bait, on top of some structure, it's just not for me. Like I can't spend the time doing it. It's not for
ultimate. I will say I kind of enjoy sheephead season, which is usually right around now, about the month of March going into April,
early April,
and I really enjoy it because it gets everybody out of my trout waters. You know what I mean? They're all out around the bridges and the rigs and the docks and everything, and I don't have zero competition for my trout.
I would go catch trout every day over going sheep's head fishing. Like and honestly, I've learned, for me personally, I've caught a lot of redfish this off season, a lot of trout, and for whatever reason, I've really I would much rather go catch trout than redfish.
You got to quit calling it the off season. It's always the season.
Season's always on.
It's always the season, man. There's not an off season, man. Come on.
You are absolutely right. I'm stuck in this beach fishing.
That's right.
Ultimate, tell me something I don't know. Okay, come on.
Yeah.
So you're right. So during the winter season, fishing,
cold months.
Cold months, I would much rather go catch trout. Just something about
they're fun to figure out, man.
They are. And
I'm getting the bug as well.
That thud, obviously, redfish hit hard and they pull a little bit harder or whatever, but just something about how a trout hits a bait. I like it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Man, I tell you what, I know what you're talking about with getting the thump on that artificial, man.
Yes.
And I feel like I can almost talk them into it sometime with my mind, because I'm just like, ooh, man, I'm going to get it any second. It's going to happen any second now. And sometimes it's like 3 hours later and I get it. And I'm like, oh, that's what I've been waiting on all day, But it's a ton of fun. I tell you what, though, wintertime fishing for trout will definitely test your patience sometimes, but that's something that always goes through my mind when we're sitting out there. Sometimes you have a lull, where you don't get a bite for like 2 hours, you know what I mean? And it's like, do you have the brain capacity to concentrate for 2 hours on 200 or 300 casts, and then when you finally do get the bite, to hang to stick them, what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
And get them. And that's what's fun. That's what's fun to me. You know what I mean? Is having those kind of moments, sitting there grinding, because it becomes a grind. But once you dial into something, one of the little sayings I have about wintertime fishing for speckled trout is, man, once you find one, you found them all. You know what I mean? A lot of days, you know what I mean? There's
what's the whole 90-10 rule? 10% of the 90% of the fish are in 10% of the water. Isn't that what it is?
Yep. Man, they like to bunch up this time. Well, in the winter, we're kind of getting into spring now, but
sure.
Little transition period.
Well, Ultimate, man, it's great to hear about your career move and all your adventures, and
look forward to following it, man. Don't be a stranger. Just because you're not beach fishing anymore, let's keep us up to date on.
Well, time out. I will be doing plenty of beach fishing. It's been a terrible, it's still like my thing. Like I love beach fishing, especially like pompano. I mean, I'm going to be chasing the crap out of those guys, and then plugging season for us, like when we've got the jacks off the beach, and of course when the trout move in on the beach, and just all the different opportunities that you get. I will be spending plenty of time on the beach. There's no doubt about that.
So we'll still be getting some reports from you.
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. I will. The majority of my time will be on the beach. I'll still, hop in the kayak and boats and whatever and do that. But the majority of my time will be on the beach for sure.
I'm just waiting on you to change your YouTube channel to Ultimate Beach Bum.
Ultimate. I still get comments all the time, like people that listen to the podcast. That ultimate. Yeah,
that's it.
I love it.
Yeah. That's it.
I love it. Well, man, like I said, we look forward to following your content and what you get into. And if folks want to follow your YouTube channel and your content adventures as well, what's the best way to follow you?
Yeah, just YouTube. It's if you just search Bama Beach Bum, it'll pull me up. Just go click that subscribe button and watch a few videos. Really would appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. We look forward to it, and we look forward to talking with you next time, buddy. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, that's an awesome report, man, and it was brought to us by Fishbites. Are you tired of scrambling for bait whenever you decide to go fishing? Have an artificial bait that's better than live bait, ready to go at a moment's notice with Fishbites. It's easy to pack and travel with, and also shelf stable, and not to mention tough. With Fishbites, the bait stays on the hook and the fish stays on the bait. Check out the full line of scented, saltwater, and freshwater baits and tackle at fishbites.com. All right, Cap, that's a great fishing report, man. But we got to do what did you learn? What'd you learn today, man?
Man, I tell you, it was it's been a great show, I feel like, and I really like I kind of heard it both on inshore and offshore report that we're kind of in a transition period right now. Definitely inshore. I always think about my two transition months that I think about fishing wise are always September and March. Always seem like the two. And the opposite thing is happening in those months. You've got coming out of summer, going into fall, days are starting to get shorter as we approach October. And then the opposite's happening now. Days are getting longer going into March. Water temperatures are cooling off in September, October, coming up.
Now we're heating up a little bit. Same thing offshore and inshore.
That's right.
I agree with that.
So it's a transition, and these are the tough months. Kind of what I guess the compliment I was giving Thomas Hilton about his software where you can go and have a log in there, a catch log, and go back and see the history of what happened the year before when you had good success somewhere, and that's where my log book always really helps me a lot is in these transition periods, because you just never know where you're going to find a fish. And when you do, you need to document it and remember it and know why you caught the fish there. You know what I mean? Which is what Hilton's really does for you. Yep. And then, from an inshore standpoint, man, have you ever heard anybody talking trash? It's like, man, I forgot more about fishing than you know what I mean? You don't realize it, but you forget a lot of things. You know what I mean? If you don't write them down, and you think your mind's a steel trap, but it's not.
You getting older, Cap?
No, man, I ain't getting old. I refuse. I feel like I'm 18 years old.
That's my problem. Is I still feel like I'm 18. But no, man, I agree with you. And this is a weird time. You're talking about transitions, and it's easy whenever the water temperature is X, and they're in the deeper holes, and water temperature is X. They're up on flats. Right now, we're in that weird kind of period where they're kind of moving around a little bit, man. And especially right now with the rain, we had to pass about a week ago, maybe. Yeah. Friday night, we had a decent amount of rain and water still doo-doo in some areas. And it's just an all around transition period. And I agree with that.
Man, I tell you what,
cool here with the Beach Bum's new adventure. That's pretty cool.
Oh man. I tell you, I'm so proud of Ultimate, man. That is so cool. Yeah. Seeing, I just would have never thought that my man would hang up doing his beach tours and man, he's just in front of a camera all the time now. You know what I mean? Just going and doing whatever he wants to do and making it interesting. Man, it's so it's
the American dream, baby.
It is. It just really kind of goes to show you, I can't remember where Ultimate's from, but he's from he's not a coast guy like you and I, and moved down here, like I think he said in the segment 4 or 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Learned how to fish, started taking people on trips, and now he can sustain himself in the entertainment business. Basically is what he's doing, man. It's so cool.
Yeah, he's a Yankee for sure. I think he's from Wetumpka, Alabama. So that's a Yankee, really. I mean,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with Yankees, but I mean, if you're north of what? If you're north of I-10, you're pretty much a Yankee, really.
Yeah.
But no, it's like I said, man, it's the American dream. Put your mind to something. He said he always wanted to be a content creator and did an awesome job of it. And look where he's at now. Like you were saying earlier, he's on he's got the Bama Beach Bum logo on a coquina clam Fishbites package.
Fishbites, yeah. I saw that in the store the other day.
So cool, man.
Yeah,
so cool.
It's pretty neat. I'm not much for watching videos, but I like Ultimate and follow him, and I don't watch all of them, but I usually do when I am watching them. It's very engaging.
He's very entertaining fellow for sure.
Oh yeah, I enjoy him. So
me too.
One other thing I was going to say about kind of the inshore side of things, I really would say everything is setting up very, very, very nicely for our spring. Just, I guess, sprung
right
here before too long. Man,
Yeah.
It's looking good. I'm excited about it. Water clarity is real nice. Water temperature's coming up. Seemed like there was a ton of fish around in the fall and winter, so I'm sure spring will be as fruitful as well.
Time will tell.
Everybody needs to tune all their gear up and get ready.
That's right. Stay tuned. This week's What'd You Learn sponsor was Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Realtime Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. Captain Richard, I appreciate you being my co-host this week, man. I always enjoy it. Always love doing the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report with you.
Anything with you, Butch Daddy, I'm in.
Hey, Butch Daddy is got to go take care of the old little girl right now and give the wife a little break, man. But if folks want to get up with you and book a trip, I'm sure you're booking out. But if folks want to get up with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Man, my website's coldbloodedfishing.com. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Inshore trips are booking up very quickly for April, May, and June. Kind of starting to get limited on dates on that, but also remember we got an offshore boat this year as well. So we'll have snapper season starting June 1st, and then before that we'll be catching amberjack, groupers, probably some tuna fishing here for too long. We can kind of do a little bit of everything.
Get in on all of it. I love it, man. We look forward to following the offshore coldbloodedfishing.com as that progresses as well. Like I said, man, I appreciate you co-hosting with me. You guys, that's going to wrap it up this week. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text fishing to 314-665-1767 to subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Mobile Baykeeper. As fishermen, we love the outdoors, but can you imagine waking up and finding out that a coal ash spill has occurred in the Delta and consequently ruined the ability for us and our kids to fish? Toxic coal ash has already broken through an earthen dam and spilled into the Tennessee River, destroying communities, costing billions in cleanup costs, and causing untold damage to the environment and the ability to fish and hunt there. Even so, Alabama Power is still planning on leaving their unlined coal ash pit right next to Mobile River's edge. We can't afford to take chances. It's time for Alabama Power to do the right thing and prevent a coal ash disaster by moving the toxic coal ash to a modern lined landfill away from our rivers. Please join us during the public hearing on Tuesday, March 30th at 6 p.m. at the Hampton Inn in Saraland to make your voice heard. This may be our last chance for outdoorsmen to come together to protect our way of life. Advanced registration is recommended. Learn more at mobilebaykeeper.org/move-your-ash. And also brought to you by the Alabama Marine Resources Division. The Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers that gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper must be reported through Snapper Check prior to landing the fish in Alabama. For more information about Snapper Check, please visit outdooralabama.com. Also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fort. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com. And also brought to you by Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588.
This week's Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Angelo Depaola, the Coastal Connection with EXP Realty, your boating and beach property specialist. Check me out on Facebook at Angelo Depaola Realtor, the Coastal Connection, or call me direct at 850-287-3440.
Also brought to you by Daycool Heating and Air. Pros at Daycool have been servicing Mobile and Baldwin counties for over a decade. Contact them at 251-633-5121 or check them out online at www.daycoolair.com. They are license number AL07028. And also brought to you by Test Calibration. Test Calibration is your source for sales and service of diesel turbochargers and fuel injection systems since 1976. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibrationdieselandturbo.com. And also brought to you by SunSouth. For quality John Deere equipment affordably priced, visit your neighbors at SunSouth. Visit your local SunSouth and check them out on the web at www.sunsouth.com.